I'll be back.
What?
Hello, Antonio Tambernino here with my review of Terminator Genisys. It's the kind of movie that 15-year-olds and 17-year-olds, and heck, maybe even 21-year-olds are going to love. Which is good, because that seems to be the movie's target audience. But of course it wants to appeal to those who have grown up with James Cameron movies since the first Terminator came out in the late 80s, including the Terminator franchise, of course. James Cameron, of course, directed the first two Terminator movies, but has been absent from the franchise, which has been a bit of a bummer. After the huge success of Terminator 1 and 2, people once again turned up for Terminator 3, only to be disappointed with what they saw, partly because, at that time, Arnold Schwarzenegger was also the governor of California. John Connor was also a problem because he was less convincing as a young adult than he was as a boy. In Terminator 4, Sam Worthington plays a human with an android built inside him to allow machines to infiltrate human camps. John Connor is played this time by Christian Bale, who is determined, John Connor, that is, to take over the world by hollering at everyone. Kyle Reese is also here, the future father of John Connor, who is actually younger than John Connor this time. It is the market for continuations, reboots, and resettings. Terminator Genisys is refreshing, exhilarating, and also a bit droll. A lot of really cool ideas went into the making of this movie. In part, thanks to the writers, producers. I am so glad that Rick Jaffa and Amanda Silver are not a part of this movie. The writers and producers of Terminator Genisys felt they had an idea that was absent from the last two installments of Terminator, and felt now was the time for them to develop the idea, make a story out of it, and turn it into a film. Their timing could not have been more perfect. The villain turns out to be not who you thought it would be. The trailer suggests that the new, younger Schwarzenegger will be the Terminator who brings the apocalypse. Well, as impressed as I was by so many things happening in this movie, I also was a little confused and slightly bored at times. J.K. Simmons is in this movie. Cool. Okay, what's the point of having him in the movie? Probably not much, because he's not really in front of the camera a lot. The tension in the movie felt stale halfway through and didn't significantly improve. The first half of Terminator Genisys was mostly exposition, so there were more than a few scenes that were talky scenes. Unlike Ex Machina, in which the tension was built up by living for 4 days with a genius programmer who goes out of his way to insult you at every possible moment, making things more and more uncomfortable for the main character to be near him. Terminator Genisys builds tension in different ways. The second half of the movie was a gunfight, and then a chase scene, followed by the robots smashing each other into real estate and walls that might as well be made of cardboard. And then repeat the process. You can kind of see where this is going. At least one of the chase scenes involved helicopters. Woohoo! Schwarzenegger fits his role perfectly. He might be an old dog, but he's not replaceable yet. Jason Clarke and Emilia Clarke are both flawless. I'm not really a fan of Game of Thrones. It just hasn't grabbed me yet. So I wasn't aware that the star of Game of Thrones was also the star of this latest Terminator flick, and she proves just how good she is at playing someone very hard to kill. Jai Courtney is excellent as the adult Kyle Reese. He also, interestingly enough, looks a little bit like Sam Worthington. They're in the hospital, and Kyle and Sarah meet the adult John Connor from the 2017 timeline, which both Kyle and Sarah now occupy as well, despite the fact that Kyle and Sarah have not yet had sex. Even with that bit of knowledge, Kyle is thrilled to see his former leader, and seeing the three of them together as a family for the short amount of time we see them as a family is as weird as it is fun to watch. They're all here to save the world, with the knowledge John Connor passed on to all of them, because he was taught by his mother Sarah, who was taught by Kyle, who was taught by John. Hold on. This saving the world scenario is about to be turned on its head. Or is it? The moment that Kyle is reunited with John is the moment when Kyle does not yet know that he is to be the father of his future leader. Why not, you may ask? Leave it to Sarah to not yet begin that conversation. They're all marooned in the weirdest bit of time travel, an intersection of multiple pasts, giving Kyle memories of a moment that never happened to him, despite his remembering that moment as though he was there, and making the future uncertain once more. Dum dum dum! I give Terminator Genisys 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's not a bad movie at all. In fact, it's just shy of brilliant. The visual effects are some of the best seen yet, with the exceptions of Avengers Age of Ultron, Ex Machina, of course, and most recently, Jurassic World. For a movie inspired by what James Cameron did in the late 80s, without his involvement for the third time, this could be the best Terminator yet, since Terminator 2 with the young John Connor. It'll be interesting to see what the future of the franchise holds, with, fingers crossed, or without Cameron's involvement. Thank you very much for your time. Have an awesome day.